Fesi Sitake, the BYU wide receivers coach, has been around for a while and has crossed paths with several of these BYU coaches, not just in his coaching tenure, but also as a player. That's one part of my conversation with him. Also, who has not been dropping passes and which wide receiver has surprised him the most through 1 week of fall camp. All part of our BYU Sports Nation All Access one-on-one interview from BYU football fall camp. Fesi, I want to dive down a rabbit hole that we were just discussing. You were Ed Lamb's first ever recruit. Tell us about this story.
Well, Coach Lamb is nothing without me, first off. I made his career. No, he when he first took over at Southern Utah, I was just coming off a mission. I was enrolled at the University of Utah, had classes, was practicing with the team, player-run practices, and about 3 days before school started, Coach Lamb called me, and I found out, obviously in hindsight, that he reached out to Coach Kalani and Aaron Roderick because they had been at Southern Utah, and he just said was looking for some help and how to get things started. And they said, hey, well, there's 4 guys that just came off their mission that played underneath us. They're expected to come to Utah. If you can get 1 or 2 or all of them, you're off to a great start. And so he reached out to me and got my other 3 best friends in, and we started recruiting some guys, and it was a fun deal. So it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
So you made him look good when you were a player, and now you're making him look good as a fellow assistant coach.
Oh, yeah, 100% all the way, right? Everything that Coach Lamb does that's good just comes because he recruited me in 2008, 7 or 8, so.
Fair enough. Speaking of other coaches, a guy you know a thing or two about, Kalani Sitake, said of your receivers, look, we got playmakers. We got guys that can make plays. We just need to figure out a way to get them the ball. So what's the secret sauce to get them the ball and let them make plays this year? Well,
I think one of it is first off, you have to have a quarterback that can do that, and I think it's pretty clear we've got one of those. Coach Grimes, I know, is definitely going to be very intentional on spreading the ball out to those guys as well. And so I think just the combination of different factors and the plays called and those guys doing their job and getting open. And we had some opportunities last year that we missed, and our job this year is to capitalize on those opportunities, and if higher volume of them come, to be ready. And I like where we're at with that right now.
Now, perhaps this was a case study, but Jerem Jordan and I were talking about Dylan Collie kind of emerging late in the season when the scheme changed and Zach started to find a little bit more of a groove and Matt Bushman came on strong. Is this the type of trend that we should anticipate for this season?
I think so. Dylan's case was very unique. I think you can, one of the factors is the change of the offense and him just getting more comfortable. A lot of that was just you know, him getting out of his own head as well and feeling comfortable. You know, Dylan's a guy I'm going to miss just because he gave everything he had every single day in practice. And so I was glad to see him go out on a bang. But I think the fact that, you know, we went 18 for 18, some people highlight that game as like, you know, a breakout for receivers and the quarterback throwing because it's 18 for 18. But 18 attempts is not that much. If you think about it, it's just the yards were a lot because we were so efficient. And so I think if we can capitalize on that consistency and like I said, if more volume comes, then we'll be ready for it if a game like that happens.
BYU wide receivers coach Fesi Sitake with us on BYU Sports Nation. Let's talk about your crew this year. And we're only a week into fall camp, but who has shown up and maybe surprised you, lifted your eyebrows on occasion through this first week in terms of the wide receivers?
So in terms of surprising, my first 5 guys, the guys who all have game experience, none of them have surprised me just because I know they're meeting their expectations and they're all continually progressing. But the 2 freshmen that have just come in have actually really kind of surprised me and turned my head a couple times. Keanu Hill, you know, kind of was a question mark. He comes from a triple option offense that doesn't really feature wide receivers, but he's big and strong and physical, and he comes from a football family. His uncle was one of the great receivers, Roy Williams. His dad was a draft pick, All-American receiver. So he's got a receiver background, and it's been nice to see him step in. He's very sharp. He's picked up the playbook quick and made some huge plays day one, and then just had a little bit of injury, but he's back now. And then Luke Andrada, we're able, as each day goes, we're able to see his speed progress. The first couple days, you couldn't see him open up because he was so in his head in the playbook, but now that he's starting to get comfortable with his plays, there's been a couple where when he's turned a corner, he's gone. And I think we're getting flashes from both those 2 freshmen, and I'm excited to see what they can do for us.
With the type of speed that Luke Andrada brings to BYU, is there a chance we could see him on special teams, maybe on kickoff return or punt return?
Yeah, very much, especially on the return units. That's kind of where speed kills. kicks, and you know, he can be really dangerous. But also on covering kicks, you know, if he's a gunner or he's you know, on kickoff, he's one of the outside contain guys. You know, that speed is really hard to cover. And so the perfect scenario though would be to get him to be really comfortable in playing those special team units. It's not it doesn't just require speed. He's got to really be committed to going down and putting his face mask on someone as well. And so all those things we're just slowly starting to see week 2 if he's able to do it, and I think he has all those abilities.
When you say the core 5 are meeting expectations, just to be clear, who are the core 5 right now in your wide receivers group that have experience that you expect to make an impact this year?
Yep. So it's all those guys who had significant game playing time last year, which is Micah Simon, Aleva Hifo, and Talon Shamway, the 3 seniors, and then the 2 who played and started some game as freshmen in Dax Milne and Gunnar Romney.
Gunnar Romney seems to be a guy that's really coming into his own, and I've heard a few coaches say specifically Zach Wilson is throwing Gunnar Romney open. What does that mean for those that aren't familiar with the idea of a quarterback throwing a guy like Gunnar Romney open?
Yeah, so there's one reason why we push these guys to develop chemistry off the field is there's going to be a ton of times, more often than not, where a quarterback doesn't have a completely wide open receiver. He's got to anticipate where he's going to be, and that's where that phrase throwing a guy open means. There's got to be an element of anticipation. So these guys working in the offseason summer together with all the receivers, they've been so good at just being on the same page, knowing when they get out of a break, when they're going to stay on the move, when they're going to sit it. And so I think that's what other people are referring to this fall camp, is we've seen a lot of throws to Gunnar and really all the receivers where that anticipation is there. Zach's letting it go before they're even out of their break. And so I hope to see a lot of that throughout the season.
Through week 1, who is winning the Fesi Sitake Award for never dropping a ball?
Ooh, I think it's Dax Milne right now. Yeah, he's had a pretty high volume of catches as well. I think a lot of that comes from where he's playing in the slot and just timing. You know, I'm in the point now where I'm just shuffling the guys in and getting them all even reps. And so sometimes it's luck of the draw. You're in when there's a couple more passes than not. And so he's done a good job. But really, all of them, I've been really pleased with just their consistency in making not just the catches they're supposed to make, but those 50-50 balls, those tough catches that will cause the oohs and ahs from the crowd.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Dax has earned a scholarship now too, right?
He's officially on scholarship, and he's definitely earned that. So
let's finish with this. What's the update on Neil Powell? How's he doing? We know he's with the team. How are things with Neil and the wide receiver group?
So, you know, Neil's got 100% of all of our support, and we're with him, and we know that, you know, this is a learning experience for Neil, and no one is hurt more through this trial than Neil, and you know, we all believe that this is one of those deals where he can come back stronger. It's a good sign for all of us, and you know, as the players, that no matter how well we're progressing in life, we got to stay on things, and sometimes we're gonna get knocked down pretty hard. And so he's out though, he's available, he's watching practice. You know, the boys still see him around and interact with him, and the most important thing for us is not so much, you know, him, like the message isn't, hey, stay in shape and know the playbook. It's just, hey, we're here for you, and we love you if you need anything, and hopefully he can come back strong for this. But it's been great to see him around.
All right, BYU wide receivers coach Fesi Sitake, the reason that Ed Lamb still has a job, right?
100% correct.
Thanks, coach.